editing, what we are going to do, we'll know how. First of all, we should know how to write a newspaper report. What are the things that we should, learn? And after that, we'll also know what are the editing techniques that we can, use. There are many ways, we can do it. You should have a full grasp on the language and also the current topics. You should also know how to reorder the sentences and reorder the paragraphs or words also to make some sense, and you can remove some redundant words which are not necessary in the paragraph. Okay, sometimes it doesn't make sense. You have to bring in that cohesion and coherence in your writing, otherwise the whole thing is not in sync with the situation, which is very important. Your writing has to make some sense, because if you talk gibberish, like for example, you have seen a child who is like who talks randomly gibberish, like you're not able to understand. You have to really work hard. But if you are clear in your speech, other person can understand easily what you're trying to say, even if it is in a very plain language. You don't have to have it a flowery language, no need of that. If you are able to bring forth the point what you are trying to make, then your job is done. If you have to make it more appealing to those audience who are very well literate and the cream of the cream, then you can use your editing skill and try to rephrase it and put some idioms and phrases instead of the plain language. But at the same time, you have to make sure that whatever that you are using is correct, because sometimes you may land up in a situation you make a mock of yourself when you use a wrong idiom, just to show that you know idioms and phrases and proverbs and quotes and all. But if it does not match with the situation and you're just trying to put it laga dena hai, it's like just a makeup which is like not going well with your attire. ये बोलते हैं ना, less is more. So same goes for your editing also. Don't try to put so many heavy words in that. The sense of the paragraph should be very strong. It should have like good story rather than lot of makeup. If your face is very nice, your makeup has to gel with. It should not be like you overdo the makeup and you make a mess out of a beautiful face. Sometimes it happens. If the makeup artist is not good, what he will do or she will do, a beautiful face can be ruined by the makeup artist. Similarly, a beautiful write-up and a beautiful story can be ruined by a person who does not know the skill of makeup. So editing is basically that art, where a plain face can be beautified in such a way that a plain Jane will look such a beautiful girl with the help of a perfect makeup artist. Similarly, a plain write-up can become a very interesting thing if you have got a perfect editing skills. So always keep in mind, less is more, where you try to don't exaggerate the situation, don't try to elongate it to after for a certain point. Okay, then it hits the heart and the mind. Otherwise it is like overdo of something, and nobody likes the overdo thing, right? So the internet and TV have forced print journalism nowadays to change itself to remain in the market. Kaise? You must have seen that there has been change in the daily and newspapers. Both of them have because of the internet, they are getting less audience, they are getting less people to look at them. So these changes, they seem justified when we know that there are so many newspapers which have stopped certain publication because there are not much readers available, because everybody has gone to the internet. They have closed down on many publication, including Times of India ka hai na, the Illustrated Weekly of India, which was very famous some 20-30 years back. Now it is no more seen, because the audience has shifted from those weeklies, dailies and fortnightlies to the internet. Now they get everything there. So, and Dharmyug was a magazine which used to be very famous among the Hindi readers. Now it is not same because people have changed their preferences drastically after the onset of internet and television. Dish antenna jab came to uh, India in the years of 90s. Before that, people had only one, few entertainment, only movies, and then they used to have some magazine which used to come. Every weekly. Sarita was a magazine. Nowadays, you can't even look at. You cannot see those magazines because you are getting everything on the net. So who would buy? Who would buy them? These are the soft, not the soft copies. These are the hard copies. Okay. So that way, the because of this, when they stopped because of the falling revenues, they stopped the publication actually, because there were less people interested in them, that they have to change their editorial policies so that they can sustain themselves. अब जितने भी weeklies and newspapers, they changed their format. They were not the newspaper only now, because they wanted to have some things from the magazine also. That's why they added some entertainment things also in their newspaper, because otherwise earlier, what used to happen, newspaper used to give you only news, and there was very less news on entertainment. Only once in a week it used to be there. Or abhi newspaper mein every day one page is dedicated to the entertainment, because magazines were used to cater to the entertainment earlier. Nowadays newspaper understood that if they don't want to keep entertainment section in the newspaper, there are very less buyers, so they had tried to take something from the magazine, and also magazines have taken something from the newspaper. They know that if they serve only entertainment, no news, there will be less buyers. It is like a restaurant. Now they have earlier, Chinese restaurant used to serve only Chinese, and Indian restaurant, South Indian restaurant would only serve you idli and sambar. But it is, you can see it in that in that light, that now South Indian restaurant had started keeping Manchurian and spaghetti also, so that it can cater to all type of people. Even this Chinese restaurant have started keeping idlis and sambars, so that they can give something to them. This is what has happened with the newspaper and magazine. Newspaper earlier used to serve only news, no entertainment, and magazine used to serve only entertainment, no news. But now magazines have started giving you news also, and newspaper on the other hand, they have started giving you entertainment also. पहले news, if you remember, दूरदर्शन का news, there was less entertainment, there was less drama involved in the news. Now you can see, you just open a news channel, there's a lot of drama, right? They try to make it so appealing with shouts and screams, and make it curious that you get glued to the TV, because they want to give you everything. It's not simple news like दूरदर्शन का news आया 8:40 पे and 20 minutes का news दिया, and that was it. They won't even smile extra, because it was so directed towards giving you news rather than making it an entertainment program, right? So let's move ahead. This was just a starting, and I will talk about we'll talk about paraphrasing later on. Let me first tell you both, as I've told you, both the newspaper and magazine, they have changed their formats and styles. Okay, now headlines in the newspaper earlier, they used to be very to the point, and nowadays what happens, they are very loud. They want to grab your attention. That's why they try to be very, very provocative sometimes. Okay, so earlier it was understated headlines. Even if it was a very big news, they would understate it, so that they never wanted to excite the public with unnecessary things, unnecessary um, aggression, so that they don't, they used to keep the public opinion or public response to the news, they wanted to keep it under control. Nowadays they want public that they should come up and start shouting. So newspaper also have their headlines which scream. Nowadays they don't talk, whether it is on the TV, whether it is on the newspaper. So they make it so provocative that it excites the reader. Okay. Now there is one more thing, that uh, earlier, in the newspaper, headlines on the inner pages, inside pages, not on the cover page, they used to be smaller point size. Okay. But now this rule, we have broken many rules. Now this rule is also not there, because now inside pages sometimes they exceeds the font size. Okay. वो जो उसका point size होता है ना headline का, sometimes they even are bigger than the front page. So nowadays, we are on a experimenting spree, because we want to break the rules. जो अभी तक करते आए हैं, why that way? We can do this way also. So now we are in an experimenting stage, that front newspaper should be it should have this much point size of the headline, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए, and उसके अंदर वाले pages they should always be having a smaller. But nowadays we have started going against this thing. So the basic requirement of a newspaper and a magazine is basically that it should be readable, and it should be understandable. Got it? Now, how it is ensured that they are readable and understandable? The news that you are giving should be precise. The news that you are giving should be clear, and it should be in a very, very easy to understand language. ठीक है? So if you have got good editing skills, that will come handy in preparing your news reports. ठीक है? The content of both needs to go through the hands of editor, who give them the required shape. Sometimes you may have a good piece, but some editing is also important to be used in your news report to make it more interesting, readable and understandable. So the principle of editings are very important, and basically there is not much difference between newspaper editing and magazine editing. They're all same. Okay. But in the print medium, if you say the content is editing is done by sub editor, I will write it for you. Print editing में अगर आपको जाना है ना newspapers में और magazines में, so your first job will be sub editors होते हैं. They are called sub editors. They are actually what they do, sub editors. They it's actually there is a word for them called they are called stubbers. They do stubbing. ये सबसे नीचे का काम है editing के field में. The post of a sub editor is the lowest in the hierarchy. Okay, but it is very important one. Earlier when it was only print media, then उस टाइम पे job of a sub editor was the most important one, because he was the one who would look at the news सबसे पहले. Okay, then उसका काम क्या था? He should know the language very nicely, perfect होना चाहिए, and he should also have the knowledge of current affairs. ठीक है? If there is any mistake in the news piece, he has to correct it. ओके, ही शुड बी अ फास्ट रीडर. अच्छा, मैं लिख ही देती हूँ यहाँ पे आपके सारे इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स. जो स्टबर्स होता है और सब एडिटर्स होता है ना, जब ओनली प्रिंट मीडिया था, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट व्हेन देयर वाज नो इंटरनेट. एट दैट टाइम हिज जॉब वाज टू he should have a perfect command over the language. Then he should also know the current affairs, everything about what is happening in and around world. And then he should be a fast reader, because अगर वो इतना टाइम लगा देगा रीडिंग में ही, तो फिर कब न्यूज़ प्रोड्यूस होंगे. एंड न्यूज़ का एक टाइम होता है, बिफोर एनीबडी gives you that news, other news agencies, they start giving you that news. It should be done from your end. That is why हमेशा बोलते हैं ना, आज तक ने दिखाया सबसे पहले ये न्यूज़, आपके सबसे सामने आपके आज तक लेकर आया ये न्यूज़, या फिर और कैसे बोलते हैं, जैसे जी न्यूज़ was the first, exclusively from Z News. We were the first to give you this news. So why? That we are ahead of others. तो उसमें क्या है, एडिटर का काम बहुत फास्ट होना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं कि वो ग्रामर की बुक लेकर बैठे और वहाँ पे ग्रामर सब चेक करे, करंट अफेयर के लिए वो बैठे. He should be a very fast reader. He should just skim and scan the whole thing and उसमें फटाफट changes करे, so that it can be presented also fast. Okay, so he should be a fast reader and he should be able to comprehend very fast, understand what is written very fast. ठीक है, all these qualities will enable him to retain the important one. जब पूरा राइट अप पढ़ लिया उसके बाद important points को he will be highlighting. Okay, and he will retain the important one and he will discard which are not important, discard the unimportant ones, discard others, निकाल देगा उसको. ठीक है, so before the introduction of computer ये सब important था, but nowadays what has happened, तभी उसको हम लोग कहते थे, सब एडिटर्स को बोला जाता था he was a walking dictionary, क्योंकि उसको सब नॉलेज होती थी. If you are a sub editor and then you have become an editor, that means you have got everything on your fingertips. Nowadays, because of internet, we take advantage of Google and other search engines to know about other things. Archives are available on your computers. Otherwise he should have the whole knowledge. वो थोड़ी जाके बैठ के archives check करेगा to check facts, right? So the word processor now has made this job of a sub editor very very easy. ठीक है, now what is desired in sub editor is not the knowledge. अभी ये knowledge वगैरह तो सब कुछ आराम से फटाफट मिल जाता है on your fingertip through internet. But nowadays sub editor is more interested in making the page display, कि वो दिख कैसे रहा है आपका. ये काम तो चुटकियों में कर देते हैं ना वो लोग. So page making skill has also been added to their skill, because you should know how to use internet and you should know how to make your page making skills. ठीक है, so अब भी जो हमारे सब editors थे, now instead of honing their editing skill, they are more interested in computerized page making and management. Okay, so in addition to stubbing and giving headline or the work of a proofreader, he does so many other works. He is a stubbers, he gives headline, he gives the proofreading of the whole piece, he makes the page layout also, right? So these are the important important work of a sub editor. So if you will start, you will always start from a sub editor. That means you can understand how much responsibility will be on your shoulders, how much knowledge you have to keep in your mind. So that is why I'm telling you, start working now. It's not an easy job. You have to be a पूरा जीके का एक्सपर्ट होना पड़ेगा. You have to have understanding कि कौन सा चीफ मिनिस्टर कहाँ पे है, कौन सा डिस्ट्रिक्ट कहाँ पे है, because you have to, the more you know now, the faster you will be able to give the result. And now it's all about how fast you can give the result, so that they can pick on you कि this person knows more. So he doesn't rely on other data and archives में जाने की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ती. He is a walking dictionary for us. He is a Google for us, right? He will be able to analyze the situation in a better way. He has good language. He knows current affair. He comprehends the news pieces so fast, and then fast करेगा तो editing भी fast होएगा. He understands what is to be given to the news reader. So practice. First of all, you also have to start practice reading fast. Reading का तो एक habit डाल ही लो, and make it better day by day. Even if you have to read novel, newspaper, please start reading newspaper. Very important, because उसमें आपको बहुत पता चलेगा कि what you are supposed to do in case you have to go into the becoming a journalist or becoming a news editor or a sub editor. Okay, reporter, whatever. It's very important that you start working on it right now, because these are all practical work. मैं बोलती जाऊंगी, it is not going to help you. You will only help when you start practicing it side by side, right? Let's move on to the next point here. Here I'm going to give you many exercises. Like for one will be raw report, where you will have to do the editing part, make some changes, try to find out what are the sentences which are redundant, which could have been avoided, and where the paragraphs have to be reordered. These exercises will come very handy for your exams also, because you will be definitely given such exercise in your final exams. So I will post the PDF in the WhatsApp group. Okay, is that clear? You will start practicing them on your own, because in my class I will be able to do 1 or 2 exercises, that's it. After that, it's your interest that will take you further. If you are interested, you have got a fire inside you, that whatsoever, if ma'am has given me 1, I should do 10. That should be the fire. Understood? And you will know the difference. बहुत फर्क पड़ेगा, ठीक है? And गलतियाँ करके सीखोगे. You will start a news agency or whatever, some Times of India groups or anything, but you will be starting from the scratch. You will learn so many things there also, but that learning will become much better if you have started now only. From your college life, you have started working on it. Start honing the skills, acquire different skills. It's important. Got it? Now let's move ahead, and I have to show you what are the qualities of what is paraphrasing. First of all, I'll tell you that, and then one second, let me erase everything from here. Okay, so paraphrasing, what is it basically? It's you are rewriting a sentence or a paragraph or a full write-up in your own word. That is called paraphrasing. Got it? Whether a sentence is there or whether there is a paragraph or the full write-up, you will read it 2-3 times and produce it in your own words. That's called paraphrasing. Okay? Paraphrasing does not mean summarizing. It's different. While paraphrasing a text, we have to retain all the details. Okay? The objective of paraphrasing is to explain things but not to shorten them. Okay? A badly written text needs to be simplified in order to be understandable. As I told you, it's very important that your write-up has to be understandable. It should be clear. It should be in a very plain language. And the simplification can be only done with the help of a paraphrasing. If you know what is paraphrasing, you will be able to restructure the sentence so that others can understand. You have to also look into your audience, what type of readers you have got. Certain magazines have got elite group readers. Only very few, hi-fi people, they read those magazines. So it is according to their taste. If your magazine or newspaper goes to the general masses, they make it simple. They don't put extra knowledge here because they know that they won't be able to understand it. So it is according to the taste, according to the education. You have to be very clear what type of paraphrasing you are doing. Got it? So what are the qualities of a good paraphrasing? A paraphrased text should have complete information. When you have a paragraph given to you and you have to paraphrase it, after paraphrasing, it should not be that there's some information that goes missing. It should have complete information. Make sure. एक भी point ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि you think that it is not important and you just let it go. No. Everything is very important in paraphrasing. It should be complete in itself. Okay. So while rewriting the whole piece, the writer should be alert to understand the sense of the passage. जब आपने सेंस ऑफ द पैसेज समझ लिया, तब यू विल अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आर द थिंग्स दैट यू कैन लेट गो एंड व्हाट आर द थिंग्स यू विल कीप इंटैक्ट. Maybe you will change the language, maybe you will change the structure, but you will have that information intact in the paraphrase. Okay, got it? So he must include all the details which are there in the original paragraph. Got it? So rewriting does not mean shortening it. Okay, in fact paraphrasing sometime may result in a longer version of the original. कभी कभी ऐसा भी होगा. But इसका मतलब है you are trying to produce in a different language to be understood by those people who are your readers, who are your audiences. Okay, so in paraphrasing sometime it could be shorter, sometime it could be longer version of the original. The size will not matter, that आपको छोटा ही करना है. Summarizing में तो you have to shorten it ना, 1/3 बना देते हो, but paraphrasing में there is no such rule. Okay, so summarizing or précis writings have no role to play in this paraphrasing. Got it? अगर आपके paragraph में there's lot of verbosity and repetition, then you can avoid those sentences. Then it can also look like कि आपने summarize कर दिया, because sometimes कई बार write up ऐसा होता है कि things are repeated in that. So you maintain the original sense of the paragraph. Okay, अगर थिंग्स आर रिपीटेड यू विल यूज़ इट ओनली वन टाइम. सो एक तरह से आपने समराइज भी कर दिया. सो पैराफ्राइज में इंक्लूड समटाइम समरी एंड बट देर इज़ नो रूल. एज आई टोल्ड यू इट कैन बी लॉन्गर देन द ओरिजिनल वर्जन ऑफ द पीस. ठीक है, गॉट इट? एंड it is also important to understand that while we cannot leave anything out, we cannot also add anything in that. प्लीज़ रिमेंबर, अगर आपको उसमें से कुछ छोड़ना नहीं है तो कुछ अपनी तरफ से ऐड भी नहीं करना है इन पैराफ्रेजिंग. गॉट इट? पैराफ्रेजिंग का मतलब ये नहीं कि आप अपने पॉइंट्स भी ऐड कर दो. जो आपको राइटअप दिया है आपको वो लिखना है, उसमें से एक भी पॉइंट मिस नहीं करना है. एट द सेम टाइम यू फ्रॉम योर एंड यू विल नॉट ऐड एनी एक्स्ट्रा इंफॉर्मेशन. गॉट इट? सो if you have got the practice of paraphrasing, you will ensure that you will rephrase sentences one by one, but will read the original, and you will also jot down notes, try to understand the whole sense of the full paragraph, and then you will reproduce it considering it as one unit. To understand the substance of the passage as a whole, you have to read it at least 2 or 3 times, so you get the gist कि कहना क्या चाहता है. Paraphrasing it sentence by sentence कभी कभी is not good. So एक sentence पढ़ा paraphrase नहीं कर पाओगे. So that is why I'm telling you, you read the paragraph, full paragraph 2-3 times. So by reading it 2-3 times you will get the gist of the paragraph, what is the sense of the paragraph, then start paraphrasing. सेंटेंस बाय सेंटेंस कभी नहीं करना. ठीक है? ओके, सो दैट मीन्स यू शुड हैव गुड पावर ऑफ कॉन्सेंट्रेशन, यू शुड बी अ फास्ट रीडर. ऐसा नहीं हो ना कि आपको एक पीस दे दिया और आपने सारा दिन लगा दिया उसको करने में, और अगले दिन थोड़ी रिपोर्ट, तब तक तो न्यूज़ टेल हो जाती है ना. यू हैव टू बी वेरी फास्ट. आपको आधे घंटे में ही वो न्यूज़ पब्लिश करनी है. सो यू हैव टू बी वेरी गुड एक्सपर्ट इन इट. ओके, so by focusing your mind on the passages entirely, you will be you'll be able to understand the wholeness of the passage, sense of the passage. और आपकी language, it should flow from your pen. You don't have to think on it कि मैं सेंटेंस कंस्ट्रक्शन करूँ, मैं इंटरनेट देखूँ, एक और नया वर्ड डालूँ इसमें, डिक्शनरी देखूँ. नो, इट हैज़ टू बी वेरी फास्ट. ओके, देन सेकेंड इज क्वालिटीज़ में इट शुड हैव कंप्लीटनेस. मैंने जैसे ये फर्स्ट आई हैव ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू कंप्लीटनेस. दैट मीन्स अ पैराफ्राइज टेक्स्ट मस्ट बी कंप्लीट इन इटसेल्फ. Okay, the second point that is very important is that it should have a simple and a clear language. Simple language, clear language, it's obvious. I don't think so I need to talk about it, but then how you will be able to get it? Oh, you'll be able to get this simple and clear language once you have a good vocabulary in your mind. I'm not saying about a book which is kept on your side. It should be on your fingertips. You should be able to think on your feet. That's most important. So you must have the skills of um, changing those words and changing the sentence so that it appeals to the reader. You can give freshness to that piece by adding your way of putting it, your way of putting that piece. Okay, so a rewritten document that sounds or read like the original one is not a good paraphrase. Okay, it should look different. Got it? And that freshness or newness will only come if you know the rules of language, if you take the whole paragraph as one and reproduce it as your own. Okay, got it? So a paraphraser also must understand that his job is not just to replace the words in the original passage. सिर्फ replacing of word ही नहीं है, ठीक है, with the new one. Though I am going to give you that exercise after some time where you will be replacing word, but that is one part of it. That's just one aspect of it. So it is not necessary that just by doing replacing word you will be able to give a new meaning to the passage. No. If you are an efficient paragraph, you will not fall into such traps, because your job is not that कि आपने words को replace कर दिया synonym से. No. Okay, you read it 2-3 times and then reproduce that paragraph from your memory using your own words. अगर आपने paraphrasing master कर लिया, then also there are so many scopes available for you. Do you know that? I'm not saying that you have to be just only paraphraser, but there are lots of, आजकल तो content writing इसी के ऊपर चलता है, right? जितने भी blogs होते हैं लिखे होते हैं, they are mostly on the paraphrasing, because nobody is producing content on their own these days. They are taking from here and there, then reading everything and then producing their own. Got it? Then next point is that there has to be accurate translation. Now, technically speaking, paraphrase is actually translation of a paragraph in your language, not word to word translation from one language to another, whether it is from Hindi to English or whether it is English to English but from English higher to English lower. It is not that. Okay, so it has to be it is basically a translation, because you are trying to produce it so that it looks like a fresh piece. So when we rephrase the text, we actually translate it. हमेशा, है ना? It's basically the change of word of a person in your own, how you reproduce it. So sometimes there is a translation within the same language, and sometimes translation into another language. So a paraphrase must represent and interpret the thought of the original paragraph, whether it is in a different language or in the same language. ठीक है? So अगर paraphraser, what he has to do, he has to expand sometime or condense sometimes the passages. ठीक है? But translation should not be word to word, कि एक word को पकड़ के translate इंग्लिश में ही सिनोनिम्स को यूज़ करके करेंगे. दो इट इज़ वन एस्पेक्ट, मैंने बोला इट इज़ वन एस्पेक्ट, बट इट शुड नॉट बी होली एंड फुल्ली दैट थिंग. ओके, सो बट इट डिपेंड्स ऑन योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द होल टेक्स्ट. मैं बार बार यही बोल रही हूँ, यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड द होल टेक्स्ट फॉर पैराफ्रेजिंग. It is very important to treat the passage as a whole, not just a collection of words, sentence or paragraph. Got it? Okay, let's go ahead. Now, what is plagiarism? Plagiarism भी आजकल बहुत हो रहा है. When you are trying to copy, when somebody uses someone else's words or ideas and show them that this was his work, you are doing plagiarism. Okay, that is called plagiarism. It is also called sometimes stealing, चोरी करना, दूसरों के ideas को चोरी करके अपने words में डाल देना. These things are very common nowadays on internet, because कौन अपना कंटेंट क्रिएट करेगा? सब इधर उधर से इंफॉर्मेशन लेकर अपना प्रोड्यूस करते हैं. वेरी फ्यू पीपल हु आर रियल कंटेंट राइटर. और अगर आप रियल में कंटेंट राइटिंग करो, अपना ही आंसर बनाओगे, then sky is the limit for you. But for that you have to be very very creative. Got it? But there is no harm in plagiarism also, because sometime अगर आप अपना piece बनाया है but it is not up to the mark, so you can add some things from here and there. No, there is no harm, because you want to give the best shot, right? So कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, आपने थोड़ा सा आइडिया इधर से भी लिया उधर से भी लिया, but your content has now become more beautiful and attractive. ठीक है? So plagiarism is also called intellectual stealing. चोरी करने में भी अक्ल होती है ना. there is a saying called कि हिंदी में नकल में भी अक्ल लगानी पड़ती है. there is a saying called that. So it is intellectual stealing. So how you are stealing that idea and incorporating it in your writing, you need intelligence for that also. अगर आपने नकल गलत तरीके से कही तो फंसोगे ना, साफ पता चलता है. तो नकल में भी अक्ल लगानी पड़ती है. ठीक है? So sometimes people do plagiarism very blatantly, कि साफ पता चल जाता है. ठीक है? Because they are not familiar with the principle of paraphrasing and rephrasing. So अगर आपको paraphrasing and rephrasing आता है, so आप plagiarism करोगे but अपने ढंग से करोगे, and nobody will be able to point out any fingers on you. ठीक है? While doing that, you can also mention or give credit to the person who from whom you have taken the idea. That's also very important. It's a good gesture sometime, that you are telling the source of the idea, that I have taken this idea from this blog or this YouTube channel or something like that. That shows your authenticity, that you are upfront telling others that you have taken some ideas from others as well, and you are not claiming that everything is your own creation. Got it? So there are sometimes when writer takes the help of others to strengthen his arguments. So taking help is inevitable nowadays. ऐसा तो है ही नहीं कि you will be able to get everything on your own. But mentioning will make you a better person, that you are mentioning it upfront कि you have taken. So when you mention it, तो आपके ऊपर कोई plagiarism का charge ही नहीं लगा सकता, because आपने upfront बता दिया कि मैंने यहाँ से help लिया है ना. प्लेगरिज्म का चार्ज तब लगेगा जब भी आपको वो बोलेंगे कि हाँ जी मैंने तो यहाँ से कुछ, मैंने तो एवरीथिंग इज माय कंटेंट इज ओनली माय कंटेंट, नोबडी, एंड आई हैव मेड इट माई सेल्फ, है ना. तब कोई प्लेगरिज्म का चार्ज लगाएगा. बट जब आपने पहले ही बोल दिया कि आई हैव टेकन आइडियाज फ्रॉम हियर एंड देयर, एंड एट द एंड यू आर टेलिंग कि फ्रॉम वेयर यू हैव टेकन आइडिया, नोबडी विल पॉइंट फिंगर्स ऑन यू, राइट. सो हाउ टू अवॉइड प्लेगरिज्म हो गया. Got it? Now serious reading. So a paraphraser has to be a serious reader. He must concentrate on the paragraph that he is paraphrasing. ठीक है? To understand that, he may have to read the paragraph number of times. It's very important. एक बार में नहीं आएगा, because to understand the gist of something you have to go through it so many times. So after doing your in-depth study, you will be able to produce your own piece. Got it? Now writing down the main ideas, once you read it a couple of times, what you will do, you will write down the main points one by one, which is important. After several readings you will remember the main ideas. Then whatever comes to your mind, please write it down, because the things that you will write down are actually the point where you have to focus, because your mind has read it 2-3 times. अननेसेसरी इन्फॉर्मेशन वो अपनी तरफ से खुद ही निकाल देगा. सो जो आपके माइंड में आ रहा है एंड यू आर एबल टू राइट, दैट मीन्स दे आर द मेन पॉइंट. ठीक है? तो आफ्टर एवरी रीडिंग, व्हेन यू रिकॉल द मेन पॉइंट एंड यू राइट डाउन दोज पॉइंट्स, देन यू try to paraphrase your work based on those ideas, on those jottings that you have done. Got it? So you have written down your main ideas. Now making a rough draft. Making a rough draft means, now what you will do, first you will make a रफ ड्राफ्ट, सबसे पहले आपको रफ ड्राफ्ट पे काम करना है. एंड दिस विद प्रैक्टिस यू विल बी एबल टू shorten this process, because in initial days when you will be working uh, for any news agency or news paper, you will be given such stories which are not to be produced in half an hour or something. Okay, so you will be taking some time in doing all this work. So those stories which can take 1 or 2 days mein produce karna hai, you will be given such task during your internships. Okay, so but once you master and start producing things, आपको एक टॉपिक दे दिया, फटाफट आपने आधे घंटे में प्रोड्यूस कर दिया, they will have observe you, then they will start giving you current news topics also, because they know that you are very fast with this, you will be able to do it, right? So here you will be given practice. So you will make a rough draft. I am telling you how you will start with this. You will start making with the rough draft, and after finishing you have to read it and again see what improvement can you make it in that rough draft also, क्योंकि ये rough draft जो है it may still need some improvements. So अगर आप खुद ही अपना improve कर लोगे and there is no involvement of the second person in improving, so that means you are giving a better piece to your boss. So read it again, improve it and keep it aside थोड़ी टाइम के लिए. बिफोर यू गिव इट टू समबडी, इम्प्रूव करने के बाद इसको couple of hours के लिए, 1 or 2 hours के लिए छोड़ दो. Go and attend to some other work and then again come back to this, because उसमें क्या होता है, your mind becomes more fresh, and when you again hit the topic with a fresh energy, again you will be able to improve it further. I do it this way because whenever I make my notes, I make, ये जो भी आपको मैं notes देती हूँ ना, it is not a work of one day. It's like 3 or 4 years से every time, every year I add points in them. अभी आज मैंने आपको ये पढ़ाया, मुझे एक नया आइडिया आ जाएगा, तो that I will add to these PPTs so that I can give it to you in the for the next students. I will add those ideas. So I leave. So similarly, you have to leave the work for some time and then again revisit. When you are revisiting, you get more ideas of improvement. Okay? Got it? Next is drafting the final draft. अब आपको final draft बनाना है. At this stage, the paraphraser will be able to approach his task with his neutral mind. जो आपको ये मैं color ही different कर देती हूँ. Now let's see, this is the final draft. Okay. Now, when you reach, you have to look at the whole paragraph again with a neutral mind. कि किसी और ने लिखा है. Suppose ये किसी और ने लिखा है. अगर आप अपने ही piece को ये सोचो किसी और ने लिखा है, तो what are the changes that you will make in that? So this will help you to write in an original style. दो आपने जो ये लिखा था ना, रफ ड्राफ्ट बनाया, उसमें इम्प्रूवमेंट किया एंड देन फाइनल ड्राफ्ट बनाया, आपने जगह जगह से हेल्प लेकर किया था. बट नाउ आफ्टर सम टाइम you are coming back to your piece, now looking at this piece that was made by somebody else. What are you doing? You are giving your अपना तड़का लगा रहे हो उसमें. Okay, I'm just giving you one example. Now your taste should reflect in that final draft. ठीक है? That's very important. So that will give the originality of the passage. You will use your language. Your language definitely will be distinct, Got it? From others. Your mind is fresh now. The flow of words will be natural when you will be making a final draft, because now you are looking at as if it was made by somebody else, though it was you only who had made it. So you are trying to put your flavor in that final draft. Okay? Now you will be able to also see कि इसमें मैंने कुछ digression हो रहा है क्या, whether I'm what do you say, whether I'm prevaricating from the topic, deviating from the truth. ठीक है? वो भी आप दूसरी नज़र से देख रहे हो, बिकॉज अपने ही पीस को यू आर लुकिंग फ्रॉम अ डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव, whether you are prevaricating from the point, whether you are digressing from the point, वो that you will be keeping in mind. ठीक है बेटा. Now also when you are looking at it with a fresh mind, with a neutral mindset, you will also be able to see whether there is a unity of thought and structure, whether there is cohesion, whether there is coherence in that piece. अगर वो अच्छे से लिंक हुआ है ना, तो वो बहुत अच्छे से आपके माइंड में घर करेगा. अदरवाइज आपको कुछ लगेगा कि देर इज समथिंग अमिस इन दिस. ठीक है. सो योर जॉब इज टू गिव द बेस्ट फ्रॉम योर साइड. ओके. हो सकता है इसके बाद भी देर आर सम चेंजेस दैट अदर पर्सन विल मेक इन दिस. ठीक है. डोंट हैव टू वरी अबाउट, बिकॉज एवरीथिंग हैज़ टू, व्हेन बिफोर इट इज़ गिवन फाइनल प्लेटर पे रेस्टोरेंट में खाना आता है ना, so many times so many changes are done. So जब भी खाना प्रेजेंट करते हैं, so we want to make it not only tasty, it should appeal to the people who are eating food in a restaurant. So your article is like a food. It's a feast for the eyes for those people who are who are readers, voracious readers. So it has to be definitely best one, right? Okay. So in short, you will realize that if the draft is final, also even if it is final, it may also go for revision again and again. Final draft में भी last minute changes करने में you don't have to worry, you don't have to hesitate. Never hesitate. कभी कभी आपने देखा होगा मूवीज़ बन जाती हैं एंड फाइनल एडिशन जब भी होता है ना मूवीज़ का, they change the climax of the movie because they understand certain aspects. Suddenly climax पूरा चेंज कर देते हैं मूवीज़ का, because after looking at the movies तो वो बन रही है, वो डायरेक्टर प्रोड्यूसर्स तो देख ही रहे ना मूवीज़. हम लोगों के लिए मूवी बाद में आती है ऑन द थिएटर जब भी प्रीमियर होता है, बट डायरेक्टर एंड प्रोड्यूसर जो भी बन रहा है उसको साथ के साथ देखते हैं, दे अंडरस्टैंड इट. सो आपने भी इसको देखना है बार बार बिफोर प्रेजेंटिंग इट टू दी योर रीडर. एक मूवी है, कौन सी थी, इट वॉज अ लॉन्ग टाइम बैक, एक दूजे के लिए. उसमें क्या हुआ कि एंड में दोनों हीरो एंड हीरोइन कमल हासन एंड रति अग्निहोत्री, बोथ ऑफ देम दे डाइड. सो आई थिंक उसी के जैसा एक और मूवी था बॉबी. उसमें जानबूझ के उन्होंने उसमें जो एक्टर एंड एक्ट्रेसेस थे ना, दे डेलिबरेटली चेंज्ड इट, अदरवाइज उनको लगता है कि तो सेम ही मूवी हो जाएगी ना. सो दे डेलिबरेटली डिड नॉट लेट देम डाई इन द एंड. दे सेड नो, वी वांट टू गिव अ हैप्पी एंडिंग टू दिस मूवी. सो दे चेंज्ड इट. अदरवाइज what was in the original text was whatever was originally conceived was that they will die in the end, both of them. But just before the release they changed it and they reshooted that thing and added in that. Sometime movies में कई songs add करते हैं but last moment पे उनको निकाल देते हैं, कई बार last moment पे add करते हैं, because that is called your editing skills. There was a movie, मैंने एक आर्टिकल पढ़ा था, it was a Russian magazine article, and उसमें ना there was a showman in India who was called Raj Kapoor, and his movies were shown in Russia and people were very, they were madly in love with those movies, Avara, Shri 420 and all these types of movies. So once he was interviewed by the Russian journalist and he was asked ki, how did you conceive of the thought Avara Hoon? He said it was never there as a part of the movie. After the movie had gone for gone to the censor board for its getting the certificate, after that everything was done. His one of his songwriter, he came that he got inspired by the movie and has written a small poem called Avara Hoon. And being a writer and a producer, he liked that song so much and then said okay, let us see if we can add this at the final stages of the movie. So within 1 or 2 days, they put the music for that song, and then they added it in the final. जब ये सेंसर बोर्ड में जाने के बाद उसको ऐड कर दिया, and you know the history that the song became such a hit. Even if other countries like Russia and all those Western countries, they have to relate to one song that they remember from India is the Avara Hu song. So sometime at the last moment you can do that. Sometime never shy away from that. You never know what is going to hit the audience, but you should have that sense also. I'm giving you an example of movies and these things because they are also same. Your news report is also like your baby, like a movie for you. Give your best in that, okay? So let me see if I have got I will continue with this exercise now. Next point is acknowledging credit. So now you have satisfied yourself with the final tadka that you have given to your news piece. Now if you have taken some ideas from somebody, you have to duly give credits to those people, so that you are not charged with plagiarism, okay? It may be that writers of the original passage has used someone's word, someone's ideas, direct or indirect quotations. So without giving him the credit, it can fall into the category that you have done some stealing. So that no charge